Hi Cancer, welcome to March 2018. Here we are. I'm excited for this month. I think there's going to be a lot of good things, and I think you have a lot of opportunity to make some really significant changes in the direction that you're headed, okay? First and foremost, I wanted to talk about the fact that we are starting with the retrogrades, okay? We've got Jupiter starting our retrogrades on March 8th. And then later in the month, March 22nd, Mercury goes retrograde. Now, why is Jupiter retrograde important for you? It's important for you because it's in a fellow water sign of Scorpio in your 5th house, which has to do with dating and, romance and creation and things like that. It's also sextiling Pluto, which is in your 7th house. And it's also trining Neptune, which is in your 10th house, or your 9th house, sorry, which is in the sign of Pisces, fellow water sign Pisces. In your reading, guys, the reason why I wanted to point that out first before I talked about the reading is because it explains the reading, right? We have I feel like you're being torn between two people, two options, two choices. Whether it's people or not, there are things from multiple angles demanding your attention and that want you to choose. They want you to make some kind of choice. And ultimately, I see you guys not choosing either, and rather choosing yourself and sort of elevating yourself and reconnecting, right? Because I think that this situation is something that you manifested, and you manifested it out of a desire or a need for validation of some kind, and now that you get it, you realize that that's not what you needed at all. And if it's like a person and work, it could be that. It doesn't have to be two lovers or two people. It could be two situations. It could be two work situations, or whatever it is. It is a symptom, though. And the root cause is much, much deeper, and it's very much inside of you. And when we have this 9th house connection in Pisces with 5th house, Jupiter, spirituality is absolutely a factor. Now, in your reading, I'm going to be clarifying the Page of Cups, the Lovers, and the Wheel of Fortune in the comprehensive reading. And we really delve deep into what you can expect by not making the decision right now. Okay, by choosing yourself, right? And kind of just letting the two sides that you're kind of being torn against, just let them be, and retracting and ejecting yourself from the situation. Because we don't want you to be derailed. I think you've made a great deal of spiritual progress, and we don't want you to kind of lose track of that. Unfortunately, I don't think people are really going to understand that. Irrelevant, not your responsibility. Right? And with the comprehensive reading, I did get such amazing feedback last month with the free ones that I did. The word that everyone kept using was they got a lot of clarity. So like if you didn't want to spend $100 on a private reading, I'm charging $5.99 for them. And I think you get a lot of more concrete information that you can utilize as like a tool for a basis on which to make your decisions, right? Just to give you food for thought, something to consider. I think it is going to be a big month for you because I think ultimately you are very deeply connected with both options. So it's not going to be an easy thing to say no to both. I think on some levels you want both, but you know that neither is really ultimately where the answer is. So I'm going to leave you with that, Cancer. Let's go ahead and get started with the reading. Thanks. Hello, Cancer. I got a couple cards that fell out right away. So we had the 7 of Swords pop out first, and the Page of Cups pop out second. Okay, so these are going to be our first two cards to start with. So let's go ahead and look at the 7 of Swords. This card, I feel a little bit differently than the normal interpretation. I weirdly feel a sense of power coming from here. Some power, but also some restraint. I feel like something is going to validate you this month, right? Like maybe someone comes in, maybe an ex, maybe a new person comes in and kind of like makes you feel like you are I don't know, just the word is validated, right? You feel secure in who you are. But then there's this like very much holding back. Whether it's holding back in terms of secrecy, whether it's holding back in terms of like not allowing yourself to indulge in the goodness, right? Because I think that this Page of Cups comes in, and I think it is something good. It is something you want, someone you want to hear from. It is someone that you enjoy the fact that they were thinking about you, right? And if it is like a career opportunity, right, or a creative project or something that kind of comes your way, it is something that you are happy about. But when we have this restriction, and I often see this as a card of self-sabotage where we kind of let our fears and doubts get the best of us, you know? So there's that sense of empowerment, and yet there is also that lack of allowing yourself to enjoy it. A little bit of a push-pull going on there with you. And maybe you have had someone quite shady or a little bit deceptive in your recent past. And there seems to be an expectation that that is where it's going. That is where this is going. You play it very cool, I feel. You play it very cool, and you don't necessarily act on it. This is all just kind of going on in your mind, right? That's what the swords represent. It represents our thoughts. You just allow it to be what it is. And I think there's like this, let's just wait and see how it pans out. I sense an attractiveness about you this month, okay? I feel that you are going to draw in all types of people, people you want and people you don't want. And you're just kind of like detaching yourself from it and like doing as best as you can to analyze it as objectively as you can. And to not get so emotionally involved. Right? Because see how he's like running toward the Page of Cups. It's like he wants this. Yes, he's validated by this. Yes, it's something that makes him feel good. It's something that he wants. And yet he's looking over his shoulder the other way. Like, well, what comes with it? What is the catch? You know, like there's definitely some distrust going on. And you kind of might be looking for ulterior motives, you know? What does this person really want? There is this speculative vibe. See what else comes out. Two of Coins has been making quite the appearance lately. You know, every month there's always like one or two cards that just consistently keep coming out. This is one of them. And there does seem to be an element of choice coming your way and having to really weigh options and having to really decide what makes the most sense for you in your future. I always, always, always say that when this card comes out, there is a need for you to connect with your true, authentic self, because we very, very often tend to be different things to different people. We wear different hats, we wear different masks, and there is a lot of pretense in our world, right? We go to work and we have to be the happy-go-lucky salesperson, or we have to be that super aggressive attorney. We come home, we have to be that nice, kind, homey mother. We go with our friends, we have to be that fun, outgoing person, right? And so we have all these different versions of ourselves, and sometimes we are called to kind of reduce that burden. And when I see this, you know, it is a matter of, okay, well, which hat am I going to wear today? who am I going to choose to be? But if you are just true to who you are, then this kind of speculation and this kind of doubt and fear and this looking over your shoulder, like looking the other way and, you know, looking for the ulterior motives here, it kind of distracts from the true core sense of self. Because I think you really want to protect yourself, Cancer being the crab. I mean, you're highly protective of yourself and your emotions. So it's not easy for someone to penetrate a Cancerian quality, right? It's not easy for someone to get inside. And I don't know, I'm going to clarify this, especially in the comprehensive reading that I talked about, but I don't necessarily see that this is, unless other cards come out negating this, but I think this is someone genuine and someone good and not necessarily something you really need to worry about. And yet there does seem to be cause for, or there does seem to be something that's making you feel on guard and protected. The infinity sign between the two pentacles I often see as an intense attraction too, or an intense connection, something where you do have two separate entities, maybe you and another person, you and a project or whatever, and there does seem to be this compelling desire to keep the two connected. And so you kind of do whatever you have to do in order to keep things balanced, in order to keep things afloat, even if that means not being true to who you are, right? And so you might be a little bit of a peacemaker on one side, while on the inside there's like all this grungy stuff going on that you're not letting the other person see. Let's see what else for Cancer. Okay, well, there's the intense attraction, the intense connection that I'm talking about, right? So why is it that you're feeling distrustful of the connection? You know, there must be something that's giving you that intuitive little, like this has happened before. Like, again, it validates you. It does kind of put you in a position of power. It does make you feel good. And yet there is this, like, distrust of the connection. There is this distrust of where this could possibly go. Like maybe you have gone through a relationship where you have had this level of intensity before, and you now have kind of identified that as being a red flag. Like, oh wow, I'm really starting to care, but I shouldn't care because in the past it hasn't done me well. And in the past it has led me down the wrong path. Now, the Lovers does indicate to me, you know, that internal duality, which is displayed very clearly here, running one way, looking the other. Keeping things on the surface level while knowing that deep, deep, deep down, there's a lot more going on. Now, again, I'll definitely clarify this one for sure. You know, and some of you may even be kind of playing with two people, and you may have two people at bay. One that is not developed, and or that is kind of, like I say, that surface, superficial, maybe going through the actions type of person, and then on the other side you have someone that like lights you on fire, right? So it could go that way as well. And again, you do enjoy the validation that, oh wow, these people or this person really wants to be with me, but I don't know what to do. And there really might be this like stagnation or sort of this stalemate going on. So let's see what else comes out. You know what's weird? I'm feeling like with whatever options you feel like you're balancing, whatever options you feel like you're weighing right now, what you actually end up doing is choosing yourself. What you actually end up doing is asking yourself, what do I need to do to make myself happy? You know, like I said, you may have experienced this type of intensity before, you've had this type of attraction, and maybe it didn't work out, and so you are highly skeptical of that. And what you don't like at this moment is this feeling of unrest. And because even though like this does represent balance and keeping everything afloat, it's still like there's still like seasickness here, right? With the huge swells in the back, there is still turbulence here. This is not the most calming card. And this is not the most calming reading. And again, a seeming crossroads. You think you are at a crossroads, or it feels like you have to make a choice. But it's left, right, or center, right? We have that secret third option, that kind of trick question, right? We don't have to go left. We don't have to go right. We can just be centered. And I feel like you guys are choosing not to choose. That's your option. You're choosing not to choose. And intuitively, I think you know that that's the best thing. There must be something that you guys are waiting for. I don't know whether you're waiting for a sign, whether you're waiting for another relationship to end, whether you're waiting for whatever it is. But you do seem to be just maintaining your current position. And again, that position of kind of like power, your own internal power, in order to maintain peace. Because this is a card of peace, right? It's a card of Libra. And being in the upright position, there is that sense of balance. Look at how many indications of balance that we have. We have this. We have the divine masculine, the divine feminine, right? And then we have left versus right, and we have left versus right. You know, there is that sense of having so many things going on around you, and yet you just come directly and peacefully in the middle. Okay? Highly, highly skeptical right now. Highly skeptical. And you don't know whether to stay, you don't know whether to go, and so you do neither. Now, be careful that you're not hurting people in the process. You know, if you have, you know, like what I mean, I guess, is don't lead people on. If you're at a place where you just don't feel like you can choose, and you're happy just kind of really focusing on yourself, and you're happy just being comfortable and not shaking up your world right now, if that's truly what your authentic self is feeling and what your authentic self is thinking, to communicate that to people so they don't have this expectation of like, oh, well, look at this amazing chemistry, look at this amazing sense of love, maybe this sense of creativity, let's like harness this, you know. But if you're not really feeling it, and you're not feeling optimistic about it, which I sense that you're not, communicate that to them. Tell them so that you are not leading them on, and you can set them free. Don't keep them for your own selfish desires, right? Because this can be very validating, like, oh, wow, I've got someone that really wants to be with me, or two people that really want to be with me, and look how great I am. You know, this is not a time for an ego trip. Not that I really see that, but I'm just saying that if you love them, set them free. You know, if you're really going to pick yourself right now, be honest and communicate that for the sake of keeping peace in everyone else's life as well. It's not just always about you. Again, a card of Libra, it is I versus you. That's what Libra is. I plus you. Okay, so it's not just about you. If you're choosing yourself, you need to communicate that. Now, this is also like, it's kind of funny. You have the two swords kind of pointing up to the masculine and feminine, and then in the center we have the divine entity, and in this card we have the moon, right? We have the sun and the moon here. And the sun and the moon, I always call them the celestial entities, the celestial guides. Your intuition is speaking to you very, very strongly. So it's not that you don't know what you want, right? It's not that you don't know what you want. I know that what you want is to feel like this, you know. I know that what you want is maybe to just kind of put yourself first for a while and to just not worry so much about this, because you might know, or you might associate these types of things with kind of going nowhere, or maybe even with heartbreak, right? Page of Wands. See, you are on your own. You're enthusiastic about where you're going. You're enthusiastic about what you have going on in your own life. You seem to be very self-assured, and that's great for a cardinal sign, right? Cancer being the cardinal water sign. Being self-assured and feeling as though, maybe for the first time in a very long time, that whatever it is you want, you can just go get it. How perfect was that? The Wheel of Fortune coming out. Whatever it is you want, you can just go out and get it. And not that you don't want love and relationships, because I know you do, but I also know that you want something real and you want something tangible. And you know that the Lovers, as intense and as beautiful as it can be, does not promise longevity. It does not promise best friends, you know? And here we have the Wheel of Fortune. There seems to be this air of like, no, I want more. I want more than just this, and I even want more than just that. I'm not going to say that's not a beautiful card, because it is. You know, of course it is. But it is that internal duality, right? Card of Gemini. The internal duality, which we seem to have displayed here. Going one way and looking the other way. The light versus dark. We even have the sun and the moon. The day versus the night. You're coming in contact with your dual nature. And I feel like there's this very zen vibe about you here. It is the recognition of your dual nature, the acknowledgement of it, and the choice to indulge neither, but rather to remain neutral, rather to remain centered. Because through center is where, like, we would call Zen, right? That Zen-like state, where ultimately I feel is a true sense of love. Love for all people involved, love especially for yourself, and that recognition that you are kind of like a being of light, and you realize and recognize your manifestation power as well, and your ability to, and when I say have more, it's not that you're being greedy, it's not that you're being selfish, it's that I think either situation, the way you look at it, there's turbulence on either side, right? There's turbulence on either side. There's dissatisfaction on either side. And through center, through self, she's very centered, through self-love, self-reliance, self-security, self-respect, that truly is where you find, quote-unquote, happiness, right? I shared this in my weekly that I did last week. I'm going to share it with you because this woman who's kind of like my spiritual touchstone, if you will. She's not like my mentor. I'd call her more of a mentor. She's not like a guru or anything. But she posted this video, and I'm probably going to screw up this guy's name. He's like an Indian guru. Nityananda, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head. But he's like, he has like a couple ashrams and stuff. And the little clip was very short, it was like 40 seconds. And he says something to the effect of this. This idea you have of me, this idea you have of you, this idea you have of the world, it is all lies. This idea you have of sadness, this idea you have of joy, lies. Right? There's like that recognition that we are in this sort of illusionary, holographic world kind of thing, and that none of this is truly real. But what is real is our own sense of consciousness and our own sense of awareness. And there seems to be too much drama here for you. And as good as this is, and as good as that could be, you choose neither. And I think you'll be really, really, really happy with that. And I'm going to clarify all of these cards, like I said, in the comprehensive. So we'll definitely get a lot more information. But you know, that Wheel of Fortune is a card of good luck. And I like to use that word luck because it has a very definitive meaning. Luck is like good things coming to you, and like maybe even sometimes you don't have to try that hard, and it's just like all of a sudden money shows up, and or this job opportunity shows up, and you know, a best friend shows up, you know, whatever it is, and it is deserved and it is manifested, right? And I feel like there's this Page of Wands where you are on this more spiritual journey because you're, again, we have Saturn going across your 7th house, right? Your house of relationships, again represented here, a card of Libra. Libra is the ruler of the 7th house. And me and you, like, it doesn't have to be so distinctive. Like, me and you can represent unity, unity of consciousness kind of thing. And I feel that once you kind of attune your frequency with this line of thinking, and you quote unquote raise your vibrations, you will attract other people on those vibrations. And I'm concerned that maybe these people or this person isn't quite there. They're not quite on your level. And somehow you've kind of outgrown that. And Judgment, beautiful card of awakening. I don't even really need to say anything more about that. A card of awakening, and I think that's kind of what's happening. That's this process. Another Page. There's some kind of journey that's definitely just beginning for you. And there is a card of success here. Again, an independent person. I feel that this reading is like entirely about you. And you coming into a sense of who you really are, reaching that point of authenticity, making no apologies, no excuses, being very proud of what you are and what you have accomplished, and even kind of with your withdrawn nature. Again, let's not forget that first thing I said, like there's a weird sense of power that comes here from like not really choosing, right? And I know that there's fear and doubt here, but it's like fear and doubt of both. But there's no fear and doubt about this. I think an awakening is something that you guys are really craving right now, and it's something that's very well deserved as well. And I see this as being a student, right? The Page of Swords, very often someone who's very curious, but there's an element of freedom and liberation that comes with the Page of Swords. He's out in the mountains, he's running around, there's beautiful clouds, the air is fresh and crisp, and yet it's still warm, and he feels alive, you know? And I feel like there is this sense of life kind of being breathed into you by not participating in the options at hand, as tempting as they are. And Three of Cups. The good things in life. Like, I feel like you just choose happiness. This is a card of abundance. And there is the indication of 3 people, right? The original artwork of the Lovers was a picture of a man with two women, a blonde and a brunette, and it was like the choice between two lovers, which is why the decision, or which is why the Lovers is associated with choice, right? Why it's associated with duality. And the two women representing the two sides of one coin, right? The Gemini nature, the two twins. And so there really could be kind of some threesome love triangle stuff going on for you guys, and I will clarify this in the comprehensives. So whatever it is, I feel that not making a choice or choosing yourself over one person or the other is probably the healthiest thing that you can do right now. Okay, now in the comprehensive, like I'm saying, I'm going to be pulling more cards. I don't know how many of you guys watched the readings last month, but I got amazing feedback from them in terms of a level of clarity that comes out. Because I know not everyone needs to spend like $70 or $100 or $150 on a private reading. But if you spend like a couple bucks, you know, like you can get a lot more information. I'm really hoping that it could be kind of like a private reading for you, and you can kind of get more insight from it. And you can think of it maybe as like a donation or something. So I'm going to leave you guys there. Hopefully I will see you on my website. I'll put the link down below for the comprehensive. Thank you guys so much. And if I don't see you on the site, then I'll see you next month. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.